Hello and welcome back to another one of these videos. Today we are going to be covering our penultimate one of these special variants, Eyesight Prime. And if you have not recently seen, or I guess don't remember what the Eyesight variant is, I would highly recommend going back and watching that video. That's extremely relevant for Eyesight Prime. Okay, we'll go and get into it. So the way this variant works is that each clue kind of gives the difference in the number of non-mines it can see vertically and horizontally. So for instance, we can see this 2 clue, which the horizontal arrow says that has more going horizontal, basically. It has a total of 4 going horizontal and 2 going vertical, so the difference is 2. And one thing we can kind of notice is that you don't actually have to consider the cell with the clue on it for this calculation. I know I won't be, and that's just because it's included in both, so it's kind of irrelevant, right? It's like, for instance, like we can see it's either 4 minus 2 or 3 minus 1 if we don't include it. And we're going to see here an example of a vertical clue. Works the same way as you expect. Here we go. We'll go and get into it. Alright. So first of all, we know that since this one horizontal clue is a one horizontal clue, it must have at least one going horizontally. And the reason for that is that you can't have like a negative amount going vertically, so there we are. We now know the 0 clue must also have one going vertically since that's one going horizontally. And this tells us now that this 2 clue must have 3 going horizontally. We can kind of use the minimum trick we use normal eyesight to get those 2 as part of its 3. So there we go. Similarly, we know 0 must have at least 3 going vertically, so 1, 2, 3. And okay, there we go. We can also mark that as well just from this 1 clue. And now it might be worthwhile to kind of consider some cases for this 1 up here. One of them is that it just stops there. And then that tells us that this one also stops here. The 0 clue then must just be by itself, which is valid for it, just doesn't have any additional going in any direction. This also now tells us that this 2 clue must only extend just out here, and there we go. Okay. The other possible case, or I guess the next one, is if this extends all the way out like this, so it goes 2 down, which then tells us this one must at least extend over here. And that gives us 3 down. We know that these ones can't connect up here, because there aren't enough cells for this to still be valid, so we can then mark all of this. And that gives us that this 1 has 3 vertical, 4 horizontal, so it goes all the way over there. This 0 then, yeah, it only goes there and stops, right? But then we can see we've kind of run into a problem with this. Well, no, actually not necessarily. Never mind, this still works fine for the 1 clue. Might run into issues with the 2 clue, though, I'm not 100% sure. So for 1 this one has a total of 4, so then we get 1, 2, 3, 4, and it stops down there. This 1 clue now has 3, so that's working fine. And you can see this 2 clue must extend 2 outwards. If it goes out both of them in this direction, doesn't go anywhere here, then it's actually going to have 3, so it must have at least 1 going that away. And okay. I guess the last thing we can now notice is that... oh wait. Yeah, this does break. That sounds like something's happening in one of the rooms next to me. Sorry if you hear like a squeaking noise. Not 100% sure what that is, but oh well. You see that in the red case, the 0 clue is actually no longer satisfiable. It has more going horizontal than vertical, so we know that the yellow case must be accurate. We can then just go ahead and kind of click through and fill in all of our stuff for it. There we are. Okay. So we can now see that this 2 vertical, or this 2 horizontal rather, only has 1 vertical just by its construction. We can also notice that since this 1 vertical has to have at least 2 horizontal, given that there are 3 vertically, right, that must go at least 1, 2 over there. There we are. And that actually finishes off this 2 horizontal clue. So we can mark both of those. We know this 2 vertical clue must have at least one going, at least one going horizontal just from that, so that one must be hit by it. Okay, now it might be once again worthwhile to consider some cases. One of them is... I guess the case where this 1's remaining one just goes over here, then we know that, or rather, I guess we can just say if this one's a mine. Then we know this one only has 1 left that goes that way. Well, no, we already knew that, didn't we? Yeah, never mind. Okay, so then we can mark this one as a mine, just given that this 2 only extends out 1. We also know 0 must only extend 1 vertically. Can't go up, it hits too many, so it goes down there. These ones are now finished. That one must extend out this way. And then we can see that this 1 horizontal must extend 1 down to finish itself, so there we go. And now we only have 1 mine left, and we can see it must be in this vertical, given that it doesn't have a total of 5 in it. So we can mark all of these as non-mines, that one up there as well. And also actually this one down here, because if it is a mine, then we can see that this 0 has 4 vertical, but only 3 horizontal, which breaks it, so we know this one's a non-mine. And, okay. Oh, I see. So if it extends down here, it's still going to have 4, which isn't allowed, so there just must be a mine there, and that's what it's looking for. There we go. Okay, cool. So that is that puzzle solved. We'll go ahead and do a more difficult one now, right here. I might do 2, actually, so I can unlock this completely. Not sure. Okay. So first of all, we can see that with this 2 vertical, it must at least extend down here. So there we are. And we're now going to consider some cases for this 0. First of all, if it just doesn't extend either direction, we then know that this 1 horizontal must extend at least out there, and that's all we can really get. If instead the 0 extends out a minimum of 2, I guess, like this, or actually it extends out exactly 2, then we get this 1 horizontal must have exactly 1 down, so there we go. Now that gives us 2 vertical, a total of at least 4 going downwards, but that's its maximum, so we know that's exactly how many it has. Then this 2 vertical must have 2 going down. Or 0, I guess, must have 2 going down, rather. But we can see that this entire setup kind of breaks this 1, where it must have exactly 3 horizontal non-mines, but it can only have 2. So then we know that if we are going to go out further, it needs to go out, like, I guess, even further. Like, for example, it needs to be at least 4. So it needs to go all the way out here. And we'll just assume that 4 is what it is for our next case. I guess, actually, something we can notice, if we just leave it ambiguous and say it goes out at least 4, we can see this one's always a non-mine, so we can mark that and see if it gives us more information. Cool. It totally does now, actually, because if this goes out at least 4 distance, then this 2 vertical is no longer going to be satisfiable, because it can only go 5 down, but that says it has to go at least 6 down, right? So then we know that the yellow case is accurate, so we can just mark it in that like such. There we go. Okay. We also know that given that this 2 vertical has 1 horizontal, it needs to go at least 3 down, so we can mark that as well. I guess then we can kind of do a similar case analysis just on this 1. If it stops here, then this 2 vertical is also done. This 2 vertical must have its last mine there. And there we go. This 0 must also just be completely boxed in. If instead it extends out like this, then first of all, we know that by this, well, I guess, yeah, we know that this 2 horizontal is now, or 2 vertical is now gone as, well, no, we actually don't know that. We know that at least must extend down here, though. We can also then see that the 0 must extend down by 2, and, okay. If we go ahead and assume that this one just finishes off here, then we're into the same issue with the 1 horizontal, or the 1 vertical, as before, where like it doesn't have enough room, so we know it must extend out all the way. That then tells us that this 1 stops there. This 2 then must go up both of the squares over here, but then we can see that this actually doesn't have enough in it anymore, right? Given that this has 3 horizontal, we know it must go down 5, but then this 2 must go over 3, and that's not able to happen. So we've kind of shown that regardless of how we extend outwards, it's going to break somehow. So we then know that this 1 is already finished as is. This 0 is done, this 2 is done, this 2 is done, this 1 then must extend outwards 2 horizontally, so 1, 2, like such. Cool. Given that we know this 1 also extends out 2 horizontally, we know that it cannot go anywhere vertically, so we can mark that. Finish off this 2. This one's also finished, as is that one. Now so is this 1 vertically, so is horizontal 1, and here we go. We now have 2 mines left. We know that the 0 can't extend out no distance, because then we need to use 3, so no, it extends out exactly 1 mine here. That's now finished, and we know that there must be 1 mine vertically around this 2. Or the 0. I guess we can consider if the 0 extends upwards, then there must be 2 mines to contain it, so we know it has to extend downwards, and there we go. We are now completed with that puzzle. Cool. Yeah, actually, I will just do one more of these to finish off unlocking the 7, or, I don't know if this unlocks 7x7s. Yes, it does, yeah. Gold is 10, that's right. Okay. So first of all, we can notice that this 2 needs 1 horizontally right here, just by the same logic we've kind of used before, and okay. This one looks like it might be a bit more challenging. That's okay. So one thing we can first kind of consider is what happens if this one is a non-mine, correct? And then we know that this 2 must at least extend out 4 horizontally, so we get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Given that this is a 1 vertical, though, we know that's its maximum, so that actually marks off all of those. Also marks off this, because it can't extend out that far, it needs to only go 1. And we also then get 1, 2, 3. So we get that. We also get that all of these ones right here are non-mines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like such. Cool. We now know this 1 vertical must extend at least 2 upwards, right? but that actually breaks this one horizontal, which only needs to go 3 out, but it's now going 4. So we then know that this one cannot be a mine, basically. Cool. Okay. So I guess now what that tells us is that... Okay. I guess we can consider if there is a mine here, then this 2 must extend out 2 in this direction, but then that hits it up to 3, so it must also go up there. Then we get 1, 2, 3, so we get 1, 2, 3, 4 going downwards, right? And then this one horizontal must extend at least 1 vertically. There we are. But given that this one can only go 2 downwards at most, we know that it can't extend out 4 or more horizontally, so it can't go through here. Thus, therefore, this 2 must go over here, this 1 must extend 1 downwards. Actually, we know given that there's a 2 here, this one will have at least 2, so it must go 1 down like that. There we go. Okay. That gives us both of these pieces of information. It gives us this, which actually breaks it now. I'm just going to double check to be sure that, yeah, no, it does give us that. And then given that it goes only 1 horizontally. Yep, okay, cool. So that was assuming it extends all the way over there. We thus know it must at least extend 1 over here. Cool. Once again, given that we know this 2 now can only really go 1 vertically, this one cannot be a mine. Therefore, there must be a non-mine up here, just because this 1 is going to need 1 more vertically than this 2. And given that that's its max amount vertically, we know there can't be one up here. This one's also just finished as well, so there we are. Okay. I guess the next thing to consider is what to kind of do with this 0. First of all, we know it has to extend at least 1 outwards. If we instead assume it extends 2 outwards, that actually causes problem. Actually, rather, if we assume this one's a non-mine, then we know this one's a non-mine, this 2's finished. But then we can see the difference between this 2 horizontal, 1 horizontal is 2 vertical things, which is not allowed, so this must be a non-mine. Or mine, rather. Next, if we assume it extends 1 more down, then we know it must extend 2 in this direction. Well, actually, no, that's not useful. We know this one's always going to extend at least 1 in this direction. So, there we go. We just already knew that. Right. This one thus must be a mine, and now that we know this 2 must extend 1 vertically, just because it's part of this group, which all have the same kind of, like, vertical structure. We then know the 0 must extend exactly 1 horizontally. This one is now finished, as is that one, as is this 2, as is this one, as are these 2s, and so is that one, as is this one. There we go. And then we can see there are 2 mines left, 2 open cells, so there we are. Okay. Cool, I've now unlocked, I guess, Eyesight Prime 7. Interesting kind of the way that they do these, where it's definitely a bit different, like size-wise, than the non-apostrophe ones. Okay. We'll go ahead and do some combinations. I guess I'll start with Anti-Knight, since I haven't done that yet. Okay. Here we go. Oh, that's right. Anti-Knight and Eyesight puzzles are notoriously interesting with the way they give you information. So basically, I'm going to start just running through some potential like cases for this one and see if there are any random cells that just can't be mines for whatever reason. Given the way the anti-knight works. First of all, we'd assume it starts by going only 1 in this direction. Then first of all, we know that it has to go at least more. If it doesn't, then we can see that there's a mine a knight's move away. So then we know it has to have at least 1 up here. Correct? Yeah. So I guess actually rather what this tells us is if we put a mine up here, we know neither of these are mines, right? But then we run into a problem making this 1 horizontal work. So we know it needs to have at least a non-mine up there. There we go. Okay. Now let's instead presume that this one here is a mine then, correct? And then we know that neither of these should be mines either. Well, I guess that works fine, doesn't it? Alright, and then we get this kind of structure. All of these. Well, that's just from this one, blocking off both those, and then finishing off the 1. So we can kind of start just marking some stuff as non-mines now. Cool. You can kind of see that anti-knight puzzles oftentimes give like a checkerboard pattern thing with like the cells that they don't allow, which is interesting. Okay. So there we go. Alternatively, if this one extends 2 upwards, then if we just consider it stopping there, we can actually see that that breaks this 1 horizontal because neither of those can be mines. So we know it must at least extend 1 more, and we can then see this one's always a non-mine. So there we are. Okay. So now in the red case, we know that it must go at least 3, so I need to hit up this one. There we are. Okay. And given that's also going
this one's going up by 3. We know this one must go horizontally by 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go, so we know neither of these are ever going to be mines. Cool, that didn't give us anything. Okay.
I guess the next thing to consider is if this is just the maximum, right? So we'll start by just putting one here.
Then we know all of these must be non-mines just by anti-knight. There we go.
And also now tells us that this 0 must extend exactly 3 out, because this will hit 4, so it must go over in that away.
We can then mark this one, this one as non-mines as well.
What does this also tell us going down? First of all, this 0 goes down here, has 3, so this one must have 2 horizontally. Doesn't give us a lot right now.
This one must have 3 horizontally. It already has that, so we can mark both of these as mines as well. Then we can push that one over there. And now, given that we know this one has to go 2 horizontally, it can't go this way, so it must go over here. And then we can mark in that as well. Okay. Cool. If instead we're going to, once again, go with the blue assumption, it just extends out one more, then what do we get? We get this one, right? Yeah. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4 over here, and 2, 3, 4. Yep. Okay.
I can actually just see also that instead it just extends all the way up here, then we know that this one will never be a mine, because it needs to also extend over there. So, cool. Okay. Anyway, we're going to continue looking through the blue case real quick, right? Yeah. Actually, also now know the purple case is impossible given this one, so we can just get rid of that real quick. That's nice. It kind of will reduce our case load by a bit. Okay. So now in the blue case, we can see there are 4 here. There will then be 4 here, so that tells us that all 5 of these must be mines. Cool. So we get this one will always also be a non-mine, or rather, they must be non-mines, not mines. I'm sorry, my bad. Okay, then we have 4 vertical, so this one must go 5 horizontal, like such. And 4 vertical, and this tells us it only goes 3 horizontally, so 1, 2, 3, like that. There we go. Okay. And what else can we gather? We also know this one's a non-mine, just run the mine there. And we can now see that this, I think this is everything we're going to get for now. Okay, let's go back to the yellow and red cases and see if this one tells us anything else about them. I guess the red case is a good place to start. We have 1, 2, 3 going horizontally, so we know this one must go 4 vertically, but that's impossible. It will go 3 or 5, so therefore we know the red case is not feasible. We can then get rid of all the red stuff, really rather laboriously. That's okay. We'll just go ahead and get rid of all that. Yeah. We can then just go ahead, clean this off. And okay, one thing we can see is that this one will never be a mine, so we can mark that. There we go. Cool. Yeah. Alright, otherwise I think that's everything we can gather from the red thing being gone. Yeah, looks like it. Okay. So I guess something else we can kind of maybe just keep looking into, like, is what happens with this one. I kind of looked at it somewhat, but not really. Right. So I guess there are a few possibilities. Maybe, actually, yes, I think it's more useful to look into the 0. So first of all, we know it could just go out none, right? So that would be something like this. We'll see if this is possible or if it has to actually, like, do things. Then we get that this one also goes out all the way over there, goes out there. We also know that all of these are non-mines as well. And then we can also mark in both of those. And, okay. Given that, we know both of these are mines as well. Okay, cool. So then, we know that this one, no matter where it goes vertically, it's going to have to extend 2 down, so we can mark that. And, okay, that's everything. If we instead are going to assume that it goes 1 down in, like, this direction, for instance, we'll start here because it's an easy assumption. First of all, then we know it must go up by 1 from what we've already shown. Then we can see that these ones both must be non-mines. We can also mark this and this as non-mines as well. And, okay. So then we can see it has 4 there. Then we also know this one must be a non-mine, this one must be a non-mine, this one must be a non-mine. It has 4 here, must have 5 horizontally. This one must
Go out 3, so 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay. And I think that's everything we get from just that assumption alone, correct? Yes, it is. Okay. Our next one is going to be that it doesn't go here, but still at least extends out by 1, right? First of all, then we know that we can mark off a lot of stuff as just being non-mines from this alone. Okay.
So then this tells us it's always going to have to go at least 2 out, so we can then mark this one up here as a non-mine as well. You must go exactly 2 out in this case. Okay.
Cool. So then, I guess we can split this one up into a final 2 cases, and then we should be good. Right, yeah, okay. So first of all, we can see this is if it goes out in this direction, then we get just all this information. If instead, okay. One thing we can actually see is that one will always be a mine, just because if it goes out in this direction, it will just hit that up there as well. Cool. Alright, nice, that's a good clue. We then know they must go down at least, so we're just going to get rid of all this. This is no longer useful. Now that we know this one at least goes down by 2, we then know that this one must extend outwards by 1. We'll consider the cases for this. If it extends out in this direction, then we can go ahead and finish off all of these like such. Mark in all of these as non-mines. I think this will actually lead us to something more concrete, which is the reason why I'm focusing on it now instead of my other stuff. And cool. Okay, so that's what that one gives us. If instead it extends out this way, then we can see that it must extend out 2 more vertically, so there we go. And that now tells us we have 1, 2, 3, 4, so we get 1, 2 going this way. And okay. Cool. So I guess now we're going to go under final 2 cases. One of them is where it just stops here, which tells us that it must then go upwards for its last 2 like this. Cool. And we can go and just mark in a lot of stuff from these. Nice. Okay. Well, yeah. Cool. If it stops there, then we also know that neither of these can be mines either. We can go and get that. And this one as well. We can also see that, yeah, these ones are non-mines from our previous assumptions. Alright. Versus, if it goes down here and just kind of keeps going all the way down, then we have 5 here, which tells us 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Given this one is 4, we then know that it has to do the thing where it goes down here and goes up here like that. So there we go. But we can see that this actually breaks the 2. So we know that only the red and yellow cases are valid. We can then mark all of the things in common between those cases, like such. And, okay, we're just going to get rid of that for now, and go back, I guess, and just real quick re-put in all that stuff. So given this one goes down by 2, we then know. And this one right here is a non-mine. And this one here is a non-mine. So over here is a mine, or the other way around, man. I don't know, eyesight just trips me up with this stuff. Okay, let's know this one cannot connect up here, which tells us all of this stuff right there. Cool. We also get that. Okay. Versus the other case where it extends down by a little bit more. First of all, we can actually see that this one over here is always a mine. We can mark that. We can also mark this, which I didn't actually mark the other one for some reason. So then given that it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, we know this one must go over here. There we go. This one's also always a non-mine. Cool. And then we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 1, 2, 3 going over here. Right? Yeah. But then this actually goes ahead and breaks it, because this 0 that must go 3, but for it to go, well, no. Then it just has to go down here for its 3. Stop there, but I think this ran into problems earlier, if I recall correctly. Yeah, it did, but we're just going to go ahead and go double check those. I don't want to, like, mess something up over here. We can then see that it must stop there. Let's go over here. We can then mark this one as always being a non-mine. Cool. Lastly, we get this as well. And since this one goes 3, this one has to go 2, but then this one must go 4, which is not possible. So yeah, then we know that the yellow case must be accurate. So we can just go ahead and, at long last, we can mark all of the deductions in for this. Such cool. And now we know there must be 1 mine left. This 0 can't be blocked off completely, so it must go out both of these. 2's finished. There we go. Alright.
Oof. That was a bit tricky, but that's okay. I think that's kind of where we're going to call this video. I'll see you guys in the next one where we're going to be covering the final variant from this game. Be excited. Anyway.
See you then. Peace.